You know, the thing is that if you are looking for an emergency business line of credit, but you have low income, you have a lot of places where you can get that credit product, right? You can go to a credit union, you can go to an online lender, or you can go to a bank, a traditional bank. In today's conversation, I want to explain to you the steps you need to follow if you're trying to get a credit union emergency business line of credit with low income. So here are the steps I want you to follow right now. Number one, do me a favor, boss. I want you to choose your preferred credit union specifically and strategically. See, the thing is, if you're looking for a credit union, emergency business line of credit with low income, you can't just go to any random credit union. My question to you is, which credit union do you qualify for? Right now, you're listening to me. Have you done some research in your area? Have you done research in, let's say, nationally to see which credit union you qualify for in terms of your, let's say, maybe your biology, your geography, your professional affiliation. Those are criteria that credit unions actually pay attention to. Okay, so and one thing you need to really think about here is that it's really important to choose the right credit union so you can actually parlay that great relationship that you would have hopefully built with them into a successful emergency business line of credit with low income application process. So when you are thinking about choosing the best credit union right now, I want you to think about rates and fees. Think about the outstanding customer service. Do they have an outstanding customer service, or they have a crappy one? What about their focus? Do they have a community focus? Okay. What about the apps and technology? Because we know that some credit unions are not really good at catching up with technology, catching up with trends in terms of using technology and apps to enhance their operations. So if this matters to you, then you want to take that into account. What about ATMs and branch locations? Do those things matter to you? What about security and insurance? Now, one thing you need to understand here is that the FDIC insurance bank deposits of up to $250,000. But when it comes to credit unions, you don't have that. You have the NCUA, which is another sort of institution that actually insures up to the same amount, $250,000. Okay. What are your needs? Okay, and you need to check your eligibility. See, please always check your eligibility before applying for the credit unions. So bottom line is if you look, you need to be a business member in the credit union in which you want to apply for an emergency business line of credit with low income. Very important. You need to be a member. So this should be the first thing you need to think about. The second thing I want you to think about here, boss, is to plan the application process. Okay. By the way, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. I just love to have this kind of conversations, talk about credit unions, talk about emergency business line of credit. And what I want to say here is that when I'm talking about planning the application process, there is a constellation of things you need to do. First of all, you have to actually you have to think about your eligibility. Let's say, do you qualify for membership? Okay, you have chosen the right credit union for you. Okay, so next thing you need to check your credit score, because the thing is you have to do two things here, and you have to do the same things on the business side, but also on the personal side. So you want to check your credit score and finances personally, and you want to check your credit score and finances business wise. Because the thing is that the credit union will check those two elements, those two sides. See, the duality, that's what we call the credit duality. So you need to understand that your credit score and financial history are a big part of your business line of credit application. Okay, so the credit union will actually assign greater prominence, will assign greater, I would say, like a larger sort of feature to your credit score. So where are you at, boss? Where are you at in terms of credit score? Do you even have a business credit score? So those are two things I want you to think about. Okay, and so you want to compare your options. Which credit unions do you want to go? Do you want to go for a national one, a local one? Do you want to go for a state one? Because you do have different types of credit unions. So the national ones are the Navy Fed of the world, the CCU, the Consumers Credit Unions of the world, the Connexus of the world. What about regional ones? You have the Blue Fed. You have the Lake Michigan of the world. You have the BECU, the Boeing Employees Credit Union. You do have the San Diego County Credit Union, the SDCCU. So again, with the credit unions, you have a credit union credit unions that are national and some that are geo-restricted. So I want you to think about that too, okay? So review your credit score and finances. You want to compare your options. You want to check the requirements for emergency business lines of credit with low income. What are the requirements? And based on that, and see, it's always better to go to a branch and ask questions there. Don't actually just sit in your on your couch and just say, I'm just going to do everything online. No. Go to a branch and ask questions. You get all the answers you need when you go to a branch, and that's what you want to do anyway. The third thing I want you to do here is to think about the funding window. Okay. By the way, I want to let me just quickly remind you of today's topic here. We are speaking about credit union emergency business line of credit, low income. How do you get it? How do you actually how do you establish a formula for success? How do you make sure that whenever you apply, you always get approved? I mean, obviously, I'm not wishing you to always have financial emergencies in your life, but the thing is that I want you to have that formula for success so that whenever you apply, you actually get approved, boss. Okay. Now, when we talk about the funding window, what is that? Obviously, you are looking for you have an emergency. In other words, you need the cash real quick. But the thing is it really an emergency in terms of the funding window? Because you have to understand, when we talk about business lines of credit in general, you have short-term business lines of credit and you have long-term business lines of credit. Okay, so if you're thinking about a short-term credit union business line of credit, then you can apply online. Some lenders will allow you to apply online, and then what happens here is that the low income part of things is not really a problem. I mean, it is a problem still. It is still a problem, but this can be bypassed because we're speaking about short term. For example, the funding window will be 1 or 2 years. So the credit union knows that the risk is limited because something were to happen, they are able to recoup their losses because it's only 2 years. But if you were asking for a long-term credit union business line of credit, then we could have a little problem because you don't have income now. What is proving the credit union that you'll have credit, you have income in the future? Like if they were to give you a draw period of 5 years or 7 years or 10 years, that's a big risk. That's a big risk for the credit union, which, as you know, in general and by default, is not a risk taker. Credit unions are traditionally risk averse. So I want you to really see things through that lens. I want you to see things through that risk management lens. So you want to think about the funding window. If you're looking for an emergency business line of credit with low income, it's better in your case to go for a short-term business line of credit. You want to have a credit product that allows you to have a draw period of 1 to 2 years. So here is the approach that I want you to really I want you to really apply here. Okay, you need to get ready to apply. What is that? Well, the thing here is that when we talk about credit union emergency business line of credit with low income, the very first thing you need to think about is, does my business qualify in the first place? Because you're sitting there, you say, well, I have low income. What is low income? Let's have a conversation about that. Talk to me about that. What is low income? Because you mentioned, I have low income, but what is low income? Is it $2,000 in revenue a month, $2,000 a year? And you remember, there is a difference between income and revenue. Some businesses might have revenue but no income. You might have a large amount of revenue but a smaller amount of income because your expenses are very high, for example. Okay. And so you're not able to manage your expenses properly. So you're not able to reduce the delta between your revenue and your expenses. That's why your income is low, because the income really is the delta between your revenue and your expenses. Now, my thing is, we got to establish some clarity around that. So when we talk about your business being qualified for an emergency business line of credit with low income, what is low income? That's number one. Number two, does your business operate within the geographical jurisdictions that the credit union covers? Because you have to understand, when we talk about credit union membership, we are speaking about personal membership and business membership. It's not just like, especially if you want to apply for, let's say, a business line of credit with low income, you have to actually qualify not only at the personal level, but also at the business level. This is really important to understand. This duality that we're talking about, this duality is important and will allow you to actually be approved fast. So does your business operate in the geography the credit union covers? If yes, the next question is, are you a legit business? hmm In other words, have you filed and do you have paperwork with the state that proves that you are actually a legit business? Because you'll be surprised. People talking about, yeah, I'm a legit business. Okay, but what is the proof that you are a legit business? This is really important. So you want to find out if your business is qualified, and please make sure that you have the proof that you do indeed qualify. One thing I also want you to think about is you need to compare your credit union business line of credit options. See, the whole thing is you are looking for an emergency business line of credit union. You are looking for an emergency business line of credit from a credit union. Okay, what are your options? In other words, can you qualify for membership at 1, 2, or 3 credit unions? Because see, the more credit unions you can qualify for, the better it is for you, because then you can say, okay, which credit union allows me to get my business line of credit real fast, because you are in an emergency, you have low income. So the thing is, when you actually talk to a credit union, you need to really try to contextualize the whole conversation. In other words, you need to explain to them that you have a solid business with solid revenue. You just happen to go through a rough patch right now, monetarily speaking, that makes you have a low level of income. And one thing you need to understand here is that maybe when we are speaking about comparing your business line of credit options, maybe you can actually think about something else. Maybe a credit union is not the advantageous option for you. Maybe you might want to try a traditional bank or a community bank or a regional bank. Also, who knows? Okay. So what I'm trying to say here is that you want to cast a wider net when it comes to choosing your business line of credit. You want to cast a wider net in terms of choosing what product you qualify for. Maybe you could probably just get a loan, an emergency loan, instead of getting an emergency business line of credit. Yeah, because if it's really an emergency, then you need the cash real quick. Because see, when you think about credit union, when you think about a business line of credit, the money is there. You can tap into it. You have access to it. It's there. But if you need the cash real quick or like right away, maybe a loan could be a better option. And one thing I also want to say here is that when we talk about you comparing your business line of credit options, remember that besides traditional banks, you also have online lenders and alternative lenders that also provide emergency business lines of credits with low income. So it's really important for you to really cast the wider nets. Okay, so online lenders, for example, you have a Blue Vine, you have Amex Cabbage, you have On Deck, you have Fundbox. You have a lot of players in that field. And in terms of business lines of credit, you have Lendio, which is a lender network. You have Smart Babes, you have Kalamata, you have so you have a lot of players in several fields. One thing I want you to be really comfortable in is that when we talk about a credit union emergency business line of credit with low income, you need to know the minimum requirements, like the bare minimum. The thing is that some credit unions will say, listen, we want you to have income of $50,000 a year, okay, and income that's net income, or we want to have gross income of $100,000 a year. So that's before taxes. So what I'm trying to say here is what I'm trying to say that when you actually know the lowest minimum, then you know whether or not you qualify, and this is what you want to go after anyway. And one thing that you also need to pay attention to is that your credit score, because your credit score has a direct correlation to your approval odds. Because see, the thing is, you might have a low income, but if you have good credit, this could actually work in your favor. Okay, so it's always important to think about what works in your favor versus what doesn't. So it's all about seeing what you can qualify for, and you need to also understand the total cost of interest rates and fees. I know you just want to have a business line of credit. Now you want to have access to cash. That's true, but you need to think about the fees too, because those fees really add up. Because after you get the cash and after you have you are able to do whatever you wanted to do with the cash in the first place, with. You are able, you need to take a step back and say, listen, does this deal really help me out? Like, am I a winner in this deal? And chances are you might not be, because if you don't pay real attention to the cost of interest rates and fees, this could be a problem. So when we talk about an emergency business line of credit, low income from a credit union, there is a constellation of rates and fees you need to pay attention to. So we have the annual percentage rate, the APR. You have the simple interest rate in some cases. You have also draw fees, payment processing fees. You have late fees. You have termination fees. You have prepayment fees. So again, you have a constellation of fees that you need to pay attention to, and that's really important to really understand that. Hey, listen, if you are trying to have, let's say you are trying to have you're trying to get a credit union emergency business line of credit with low income, make sure that you have everything written down. Make sure that you ask the credit union before signing the paperwork. Ask them to break down for you on one page all the important fees and rates that you need to be aware of, because sometimes those fees are buried into legalese. They're buried in legalese in the fine print, and not a lot of people read the fine prints, me included. So you want to have them break it down for you on one page, clearly, so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. And one thing I want you to do right now is you need to gather your financial documents and apply. So the thing is, you have done all the work. You look at things look good. You have actually you are getting closer to getting your credit union emergency business line of credit with low income. You are really pumped up. This is really good. I'm happy for you. But it's really important to understand that you need to gather your documents, and please, you want to wait for the right time to apply. In other words, if you have done your intel, if you have gone to the branch, if you have spoken to, let's say you have spoken to the loan reps at the branch, then you know exactly what they are asking for. They are asking from you in terms of requirements, right? They'll ask you for your personal information to verify your identity. So the credit union will require you to submit information about yourself. So this will include your full legal name, your social security, your criminal records, and educational background. Okay, and they might ask for bank statements. So they'll ask for maybe 1 year of bank statements. And so the thing is, if you have an account with a credit union already, it's a lot easier. If you do a lot of not a lot, but if you do nearly 75% of your banking with that credit union, they already have your info anyway. So if you're asking them for an emergency business line of credit, they are more likely to grant it to you because they already have seen your income, and like they've seen your cash inflows and cash outflows. Okay, this is important. They might ask you, they will ask you for your financial statements. So they want to determine the financial strength of your business. Okay, and even though you have low income, maybe you have assets. Okay, that's why they want to look at your cash flow statements. They want to look at your balance sheet. They want to look at your P&L. They want to look at your owner's equity. So they want to look at a lot of things just to see that. Okay, they also want to see your debt schedule, your legal documents. Okay, depending on your business structure. Okay, they want to look at your tax returns. Okay, personal and business wise. Okay. Now, here are a few pro tips before we actually close to this conversation. There are some common business line of credit application mistakes that you need to avoid when you are applying at a credit union. So, like not having a clear idea why you need the funds can be a big mistake. Okay, rushing through the application is another big mistake. This is why I always say you have to actually do things at the branch. And also being dishonest on the application. Don't lie on a credit union don't lie on any credit application. Doesn't matter if it's at a credit union or a bank or online. Never lie. Okay, because they will find out anyway. It's a bad idea, and it could be a criminal offense in some states. Okay, banking fraud is a real thing. So you don't want to be in that situation. Okay. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was talking to you about credit union emergency business lines of credit with low income, how to get one real fast. Okay, a large limit at that. So here are the steps. Number one, you want to choose your preferred credit union. Number two, you want to plan the application process. Number three, you want to think about the funding window, okay? And then I share with you the approach you need to have in place. And so you need to get ready and apply. So find out if your business is qualified in the first place. Compare your business line of credit options. Know the minimum requirements here. Know you need to understand the cost of interest rates and all the other fees. And you want to gather your financial documents and apply. Fantastic. I'll speak to you another time, but until then, remember, stay marvelous.